No matter how the cachet of the WNBA elevates, remember, it could have been even better. You messed it up.
No matter how high the WNBA climbs, no matter how many records fall or how many seats get filled, remember this moment. Remember that it could have been so much better. You had the golden ticket in your hands, and you let it slip away.
We're going to financially recover from this.
You messed it up. You really messed it up. Because right now, as we speak, Caitlin Clark might have just received an offer from Europe that could permanently shatter everything the WNBA has built.
But going out there and playing great basketball every night and ignoring the hate that was coming to her from all.
And honestly, they might never financially recover from this. The WNBA is in full panic mode.
Dude, and Nike was marketing the living hell out of Michael Jordan. I want to be like Mike. It was still burning.
Caitlin Clark's potential move to Europe isn't just a rumor anymore. It's looking more real, more imminent. And
we're not saying we were
No, Andrea, I'm not going to let you do that.
Go ahead,
Andrea, I'm not going to let you make it seem like Caitlin Clark was averaging 5 points a game. At the time, she was still averaging 16 points.
More devastating with each passing day. Maybe, just maybe, the league should have thought about treating their brightest star with a little more respect, a little more protection.
A game, which was more than a lot of other guards that made the team. So don't do that. Don't make it seem like she was averaging 5 points. And this was
a little more decency. But they didn't. And now Caitlin is about to walk away, leaving the WNBA in absolute ruins. And the question everyone's asking is simple yet terrifying. Who's going to watch without CC? You know what's almost funny about all of this? The same people who doubted her from day one.
It was like a handout.
No, it wasn't a handout.
Look at her numbers. Look at her numbers.
Shannon.
Comparable to
the same critics who said she wasn't strong enough, wasn't experienced enough, wasn't ready to compete at this level. They're the ones who lack the experience to understand what they're watching. These are the exact individuals who said Caitlin wouldn't manage in the WNBA, that she'd crumble under the pressure, that the professional game would expose her weaknesses. And what happened? She absolutely demolished those narratives. She blasted her way through broken records like there was no tomorrow, shattering expectations, and leaving the league scrambling to keep up. The WNBA is in ruins not because Caitlin failed, but because she succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams, and the league had no idea how to handle it. Throughout her entire rookie season, there was this constant stream of nonsense about things Caitlin was supposedly doing wrong. Critics picked apart her game, questioned her decisions, doubted her impact. But here's the truth that nobody wants to admit. She was doing nothing wrong. Nothing. She was going out there night after night, playing absolutely phenomenal basketball, putting on a show for fans who had never cared about women's basketball before. And through it all, she had to ignore the hate, not just from casual fans or Twitter trolls, but from analysts, from other players, from people who should have been celebrating what she brought to the game. The hate came from all sides, relentless and cruel, and she just kept playing. These analysts, these so-called experts, they gave Caitlin no other option. The ongoing hostility toward her became impossible to ignore. Wasn't just competitive fire or tough defense anymore. It was personal. It was targeted. And now she needs a fresh start, a new beginning in a league that will genuinely value its best players, that will protect them instead of letting them get singled out and targeted game after game. Remember when Michael Jordan was ascending in the NBA? The league clearly saw that he was the guy, the face of basketball's future. Nike was marketing the absolute living hell out of him. I want to be like Mike became a cultural phenomenon. But here's the key difference. It was still about Bird and Magic too. The NBA knew how to balance promoting their rising superstar while respecting the legends who built the foundation. The WNBA, they couldn't figure out that formula. They let jealousy and pettiness poison what should have been a celebration. According to multiple reports, Caitlin Clark has received an absolutely incredible contract offer to play in Europe. The numbers being discussed are staggering, unlike anything we've seen in women's basketball. And from everything we're hearing, she's prepared to accept. But there's so much more to this story than just money. Despite all the attention she's brought, despite the admiration from millions of fans, despite the undeniable impact she's had on the game, Caitlin Clark has faced challenge after challenge in the WNBA. The league's complete inability to adequately protect its star players has been on full display. The lack of proper support on the court has been embarrassing. These problems haven't just been minor annoyances. They've culminated in what could legitimately be one of the most shocking career decisions we've ever witnessed in professional sports. Caitlin Clark has finally had enough. She's done with the way she's been treated in the WNBA. After enduring countless frustrations, after biting her tongue through incident after incident, she's making the decision to leave the league that should have been building its entire future around her. The ripple effects of her departure are going to send absolute shockwaves through the WNBA, shaking the organization to its very core. Caitlin Clark's decision to move to Europe and walk away from the WNBA is crystal clear now, and the league only has itself to blame. It's become painfully obvious that Caitlin Clark reached her breaking point. Time and time again, we watched opposing players get away with excessive physicality when guarding her. We saw them frequently go overboard with aggressive and sometimes downright dangerous plays. Hard fouls that would draw flagrants in any other context suddenly became acceptable when the target was Caitlin Clark. The WNBA has not treated her with the respect or care that a star of her caliber absolutely deserves. The lack of protection on the court has been stunning. The constant targeting by other players has been relentless, and perhaps most damning of all, the league's apparent indifference to all of it has sent a clear message. They don't really care. It's almost as if the league actively permitted these tactics to continue because they understood something cynical, but true. Clark's presence on the court attracts attention. It increases viewership. After all, a little drama gets people talking, right? Controversy drives engagement. But for Caitlin, the lack of protection, the constant physical abuse, the turning of blind eyes, it's all gone too far. Fans have absolutely taken notice. The outcry on social media platforms from Caitlin's supporters has been deafening. They've been demanding more protection, basic fairness, and simple respect for their favorite player. They've created hashtags, written open letters, tagged WNBA officials in thousands of posts. And what's changed? Practically nothing. Little to nothing has been done to address these legitimate concerns. Clark feels abandoned, almost as if the league that benefited so massively from her star power didn't care enough to make the necessary changes to protect her. And so Caitlin Clark is finally listening to her fans. After suffering through season after season of unjust treatment, after being targeted and brutalized game after game, she's had enough. She's decided to take control of her own career by walking away from the WNBA entirely. She's seeking a new chapter where her tremendous talent, her infectious passion, and her undeniable influence on the game will be properly recognized and respected the way they should have been from the start. Let's not sugarcoat what's about to happen. The WNBA is about to witness a catastrophic decline, and it's all because they completely overlooked how vitally important Caitlin Clark was to the league's success. Without Clark, the WNBA will immediately suffer devastating losses in both viewership and revenue. Casual viewers who got interested because of the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, gone. Die-hard basketball fans who tuned in specifically to watch her electrifying performances, gone. She was such a massive draw that games featuring her became can't-miss television. All those eyeballs, all that attention, all that money flowing into the league, it was because of her. The Indiana Fever was literally turning away fans at home games because demand was so insanely high. Sold-out arenas, record-breaking attendance. That was the Caitlin Clark effect. Now, the WNBA faces this absolutely monumental task of trying to fill the massive void left by her departure. Sure, there are other talented players in the league. DJ Carrington is exciting. Angel Reese brings energy and rebounding. But let's be completely honest here. They don't have the same magnetic pull, the same charisma, the same ability to transcend the sport that Clark brought to the game. This isn't meant to diminish their incredible talents, because both are phenomenal athletes. But Caitlin Clark was operating on an entirely different level. She wasn't just a player. She was a cultural movement. She was appointment television. People weren't just drawn to watching the WNBA. They were specifically drawn to watching her. Her fearless shooting from distances that seemed impossible, her ability to completely take over games in the fourth quarter, her competitive spirit that refused to back down from anyone, all of it combined to make her an absolute must-watch athlete. The WNBA is only now beginning to truly understand the full extent of the Caitlin Clark effect, and it's already too late. Losing Clark means the league will hemorrhage millions upon millions of dollars in revenue. Ticket sales will plummet. Merchandise bearing her name and number that flew off shelves, that revenue stream disappears overnight. Television partnerships that were renegotiated based on surging viewership numbers, those contracts suddenly look terrible for the networks. Sponsorships from major brands that wanted to be associated with the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, they'll redirect those marketing dollars elsewhere. The financial toll will be absolutely staggering. And here's what makes this whole situation so tragic. It was completely avoidable. The league had every single opportunity to get this right. They could have given Caitlin the respect she earned as the undisputed face of the league. They could have actually protected her on the court instead of letting opponents brutalize her. They could have provided her with the support and resources she needed to thrive. But they failed at every turn. Draft day viewership shot up by 400%. 400%. Home game attendance jumped 93%. Regular season viewership increased by 180%. What Caitlin Clark accomplished in terms of growing the WNBA was absolutely exponential. She did in 5 weeks what logically should have taken 5 years of sustained growth. As it pertains to draft viewership specifically, she accomplished in 5 days what normally takes multiple seasons to build. These aren't just impressive statistics. They represent a complete transformation of the league's visibility and cultural relevance. And the WNBA allowed their internal problems to fester and worsen. Now they're going to pay an incredibly steep price for their negligence. Caitlin's departure represents a genuine turning point that could have absolutely disastrous long-term effects on the league's future trajectory. So what exactly has Caitlin Clark been promised in Europe? The numbers being thrown around would stop anyone in their tracks. According to multiple sources close to the negotiations, the contract she's been offered is significantly more lucrative than anything the WNBA has ever been able to provide. In European leagues, especially the top-tier organizations, players are treated like absolute royalty. They're given the respect, the accommodations, and the compensation befitting genuine superstars. Caitlin is being offered a true once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The decision to relocate overseas essentially became a natural choice because she wouldn't just be earning substantially more money. She'd also benefit from playing significantly fewer games throughout the season. That means more time to properly rest, to let her body recuperate, and to perform at her absolute peak when she does take the court. Teams overseas have been salivating at the opportunity to bring Caitlin Clark into their organization. They're ready to throw crazy money at her. Remember when Ice Cube was prepared to offer her $5 million just to play in the Big Three? That gives you some context for the kind of financial offers floating around. But European teams aren't simply offering Caitlin a contract. They're offering her the chance to represent an entire league as its marquee star. Imagine this. Caitlin Clark walking onto the court, the arena lights dimming dramatically, and thousands of passionate fans erupting in deafening cheers as she steps up to launch one of her signature deep threes. The energy in those packed European arenas is absolutely electric and tangible. Every roar from the crowd echoes and reverberates through the stadium, creating an atmosphere of pure basketball worship. But this time, it's fundamentally different. European leagues recognize exactly what they have in Caitlin Clark. They're prepared to make her the absolute face of their brand, treating her like the legitimate international superstar she's already become. This isn't only about Europe providing Caitlin with a new platform to dominate. It's about positioning her as potentially the biggest basketball star on the entire planet, with arenas packed full of devoted supporters who will celebrate and admire every single move she makes. Europe is fully prepared to ensure that Caitlin Clark shines brighter than she ever could have in the WNBA as she prepares to enter this exciting new era of global greatness. But here's the thing, she's not alone in making this kind of move. Other WNBA players are starting to pursue better opportunities by following the exact same path overseas. While reports suggest Caitlin is headed to Europe, players like Kelsey Mitchell and Alyssa Smith have already chosen to spend their off-seasons playing in China. WNBA players are gradually catching on to this trend as they realize that playing abroad doesn't just offer significantly better compensation, it provides better overall treatment as professionals. The WNBA's pay scale simply cannot compete with what international leagues are willing to provide in terms of both money and quality of experience. Players like Caitlin, Kelsey, and Alyssa are seeing clear advantages: fewer games on their bodies, substantially more rest and recovery time, and dramatically higher earnings. When you compare the grueling schedule, the mediocre compensation, and the inconsistent player care offered by the WNBA versus what's available overseas, the decision to play internationally becomes almost a complete no-brainer. It's genuinely easy to understand why more and more elite athletes are actively choosing this path forward. Meanwhile, media personalities like Jason Whitlock believe Caitlin should star in this proposed unrivaled league, where the absolute best players would compete against each other during the WNBA's offseason. This would theoretically allow players like Kelsey Mitchell and Alyssa Smith to earn substantial money without having to travel halfway around the world. They could generate serious income right here in America, in a league absolutely stacked with elite talent. This gives players better opportunities and allows them to capitalize on this unprecedented rise of interest in women's basketball. We have incredible young prospects emerging constantly, yet they're not going to receive anywhere near the compensation they truly deserve. Instead, they'll have to generate most of their income through sponsorship deals and brand partnerships. This unrivaled league concept adds an entirely different dimension to solving that problem. Back to Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. This seismic shift should serve as an absolutely massive wake-up call for women's basketball in America. The league is facing serious risk of losing not just Caitlin Clark, but potentially other top-tier players, as well if conditions don't dramatically improve. If the WNBA doesn't immediately step up and fundamentally reevaluate how they compensate and treat their athletes, they could face a genuine mass exodus of talent to international leagues. The reality is absolutely clear now. Players no longer have to settle for substandard treatment and inferior pay when international leagues are eagerly willing to offer them so much more respect, better working conditions, and life-changing money. If the WNBA genuinely wants to avoid an even larger talent drain in the future, they need to completely rethink their priorities. And they need to do it fast, before it's too late to save what's left. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the Caitlin Clark situation, make sure you leave a like on this video. And definitely subscribe to stay updated with more content covering the biggest stories in basketball today.